And for our final inductor this evening, Mr. Rich Palladino. Rich Palladino will be inducting Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
I got a couple sheets here, Fabo. There's no thunder steel. Don't worry about it. Take your pictures. It's fine. All right, everybody. How's everybody doing here tonight? All right. First of all, I want to say congratulations to all the other inductees tonight. A round of applause for everybody else here inducted into the Hall of Fame. Speech of the night goes to the Duke of Dorchester. Oh, yeah. Absolutely amazing. So I'm here to induct the Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Now I'm getting off a plane, believe it or not. For those of you who don't know, I'm a ring announcer. I've been doing this for about 17 years. I'm getting off a plane, TF Green here in Providence, and of course, I'm a Facebook mark, and I'm checking out my Facebook on my phone, and I get off the plane, and I get a message from Joe Bruin saying, I want you to induct Jimmy Superfly Snuka into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And my first thing is, why me? Not why me like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you're asking me to do this. And he says, you know, you're knowledgeable, whatever. And Joe, thank you for this opportunity, because it's more than just being here inducting Jimmy Snuka into the Hall of Fame. It's from a guy that's been a fan of this business for over 30 years. And to be up here inducting Jimmy Snuka, I'm not worthy. Joe seems to think I am, so I thank him for the opportunity. As a kid, I always idolized Jimmy Snuka. I was in junior high. It's 1983. Jimmy Snuka, you were the man. 1982-83, Jimmy Snuka was the man in professional wrestling. This is long before Hulk Hogan, and this was during the Bob Backlund era. Bob Backlund was world champion. Jimmy Snuka was the man. And I've been doing this a long time, and I know there's a lot of local workers out there, and I know a lot of the guys a little bit older in age like me looked up to Jimmy Snuka, and that's why they wanted to do what they wanted to do. They saw the Superfly. And I met Jimmy for the first time in 1994. I was working for the Century Wrestling Alliance. And I was in Melrose, Massachusetts, in a show promoted by the Boston bad boy, Tony Rumble. Absolutely, a round of applause. Yeah! And I can tell you this, that night in Melrose, Massachusetts in 1994, I was in awe. Because in my tuxedo, I was going to be in the ring announcing the man that I idolized as a kid, and that's Jimmy Snuka. And I tell you, tonight, in front of all of you, I am just as awestruck tonight to be up here at this podium. He was an amateur bodybuilder in Hawaii in the 1960s. Jimmy held the titles of Mr. Hawaii, Mr. Waikiki, and Mr. North Shore. He trained at a gym that was owned by former WWF Tag Team Champion Dean Ho. And a lot of the local professional wrestlers from the South Pacific trained there. And Jimmy started to entertain the thoughts of becoming a professional himself. He's trained by one of the greats. A lot of you guys might not know the name, but Danny Hodge was one of the men responsible for training Jimmy Snuka for his pro career. Absolutely. So after being trained professionally by Danny Hodge, he made his professional debut in Hawaii as Jimmy Kialoha in 1969. And he had his debut against Maxwell Bunny Butler. From the South Pacific, he moved on to the Pacific Northwest. And I hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to go through a little history lesson. I wish I could say I traveled the highways and byways with Jimmy Snuka, but this is more a history lesson because Joe gave me 5 minutes. I might go about 6.5. I'm sorry, but how can you sum up Jimmy Snuka's career in 5 minutes? That's all I want to know. So from the Pacific Northwest, he moved on. From the South Pacific, he moved to Pacific Northwest with legendary promoter Don Owen. There he held the Pacific Northwest heavyweight title 6 times, ladies and gentlemen, winning it first from Apache Bull Ramos. And his last title reign, he defeated a guy you might have heard of, one Jesse the Body Ventura. While in the Pacific Northwest, he held the tag team title 6 times with his partner Dutch Savage. From there, now we're back in the territorial days, which don't really exist anymore, ladies and gentlemen, but he moved on to NWA Big Time Wrestling out of Texas. He won the Texas Heavyweight title from Cowboy Scott Casey in 1977. And he also won the tag team title with the handsome half-breed, the late Gino Hernandez. From there, he moved on to NWA Mid-Atlantic for the great promoter Jim Crockett. In 1978, he won the NWA World Tag Team title with Paul Orndorff before he was wonderful, and held those titles, and then won the United States Heavyweight title, defeating Ricky Steamboat in a tournament final in 1979. He won the NWA World Tag Team title a 2nd time under the management of Gene Anderson with his partner Ray the Crippler Stevens. From there, Jimmy moved on to Georgia Championship Wrestling, and he won the National Tag Team Championship with his partner, a young freebird, Terry Gordy. They defeated Steve Olszanowski and Ted DiBiase. And in that year of 1981, Snuka and Gordy were voted the 1981 Wrestling Observer Tag Team of the Year. Also in 1981, he teamed with the legendary Bruiser Brody to win the World's Strongest Tag Team League tournament. That was in December of '81, and in January of 1982, he made his debut in the bright lights and big city of New York for the World Wrestling Federation. He debuted as a heel managed by the legendary Captain Lou Albano. He toured through the competition, receiving shots at Intercontinental Champion Pedro Morales, as well as then World Champion Bob Backlund. And we all know this story. June the 28th, 1982, he wrestled Bob Backlund for the world title inside a steel cage at Madison Square Garden. Jimmy climbed to the top rope, looked up, and then ascended to the top of the 15-foot high steel cage. He leapt off with a Superfly splash. Backlund moved out of the way, ended up climbing out the door and winning the match. Jimmy may have lost that match, but he won the hearts and minds and souls of the 22,000 fans in Madison Square Garden, as well as a nationwide audience watching live on the USA Cable Network. Jimmy was so popular they had no choice but to turn him babyface. And he was reunited with his former manager, the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, on an epic episode of Rogers' Corner. He joined Buddy Rogers, leaving Lou Albano, and faced Ray Stevens in what was supposed to be a match, but it was just an attack from Albano and Ray Stevens, where Ray Stevens, his former NWA World Tag Team partner, Tag Team Champion partner, pile drived him on the floor, not once, but twice. Jimmy just became the most popular man in professional wrestling at that time. He went on, legendary feud with Don Morocco. We all know about the cage match, October 17th, 1983, Madison Square Garden. The match that Mick Foley, a man that was right here yesterday, said was the reason he wanted to become a professional wrestler. Again, Jimmy did not win the match, climbed to the top of the cage, came down on a bloodied Morocco who had already escaped from the cage. But again, Jimmy won the hearts and souls of everybody in professional wrestling. 1984, Roddy Piper came to the World Wrestling Federation and cracked a coconut over Jimmy's head. And in one of the first installments of Piper's Pit, his feud with Snuka is the stuff that legends are made of. In 1985, Jimmy appeared at the inaugural WrestleMania in the corner of Hulk Hogan and Mr. T when they faced Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. In 1986, Jimmy moved on to the AWA, replacing the injured Jerry Crusher Blackwell as Greg Gardner's partner in the main event of Wrestle Rock 86 at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in a steel cage match against Nord the Barbarian and Bruiser Brody. Snuka split his time then between the AWA and competing in Japan. And during his time in the AWA, he found himself embroiled in a bitter feud with the South African mercenary Colonel De Beers, in a match that started when Jimmy was wrestling this guy right here, Larry Zbyszko. You can't deny it. We saw it all on ESPN. Jimmy spent his time there in the AWA. He returned to the WWF in 1989, making a surprise appearance at WrestleMania 5 at the Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. I was there as a fan. What a thrill to see the Superfly coming back to the World Wrestling Federation. And during that time, he helped establish some of the newer, younger stars in the WWF, such as Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, and a guy you might have heard of known as The Undertaker. Jimmy stayed there until 1992. He started with a new promotion out of South Philadelphia, ECW, then known as Eastern Championship Wrestling. He was managed by Paul E. Dangerously, Paul Heyman. He won the TV title in March of 1992 from Glenn Osborne. He became the first Eastern Championship Wrestling heavyweight champion, defeating Sal Bellomo in the finals of a tournament to become the first champion of that promotion. He also had a second reign later in that year, defeating Johnny Hot Body. Bear with me. In 1996, Jimmy Superfly Snuka was inducted, rightfully so, into the World Wrestling Federation Hall of Fame. The weekend he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he stood up at that podium and he said, "I'm not done yet, brother." And that weekend, which ironically tied in with the Survivor Series, he competed at the Survivor Series as a surprise partner of Flash Punk, Savio Vega, and Yokozuna. From there, he made random appearances for both WCW and WWE. In 2007, at Vengeance, Night of Champions, he teamed with fellow Hall of Famer Sergeant Slaughter to face then WWE Tag Team Champions Deuce and Domino. His son, Deuce, was one half of the Tag Team Champions, and in that match, ironically, he was pinned by his son. Passing the torch, if you will. He competed in the 2008 Royal Rumble and again clashed with Roddy Piper. In March of 2009, just a little over a year ago, he was attacked by one Y2J, Chris Jericho, on Monday Night Raw. And on April 5th, 2009, he teamed with Roddy Piper and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in a handicap match against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 25. On November 28th of last year, he teamed with his son, Sim Snuka, for the first time in NWA Upstate. Ladies and gentlemen, his daughter, Serona, is currently wrestling for Florida Championship Wrestling as Tamina. That, of course, the developmental territory of the World Wrestling Entertainment. He's the part owner of Body Slam University in Broward County, Florida, where he trains the youthful students there once a month. He's an avid poker player, and I understand there's a reality show based on the life of Jimmy Snuka, currently in the works right now. He has done it all in professional wrestling. He is rightfully inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. From all the times he headlined the Boston Garden to right up the street right here in the Providence Civic Center. Ladies and gentlemen, I am humbled and honored to present to you into the 2010 New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one, the only, the Superfly, Jimmy Snuka!
I just want to thank you very much for giving me this ring. Vince McMahon didn't give this to me. It's all you wonderful people out there in this beautiful world. I gave this to you, brother. There's only 3 words that I just like to say. I love you.